Honourable Shaoquett Moselmane.
Thank you, Mr. President. Make no mistake, a genocide is currently unfolding in Myanmar to our northwest. Let's be clear, what we are witnessing is a state-orchestrated humanitarian catastrophe. The UN Human Rights Chief Prince said security operation in Myanmar described the killing as I quote, a textbook example of ethnic cleansing, end quote. Yet Australia fails to take the necessary action to pressure the Myanmar military to stop the killing. Sectarian violence in 2012, 2016 and now in 2017 resulted in the flight of hundreds of thousands of Rohingya from their homes, many seeking refuge in Bangladesh. The Rohingya are a poverty-stricken people. Some in Myanmar see the Rohingya as illegal immigrants from Bangladesh and so deny them citizenship, even though many Rohingya have been in Rakhine, Burma for generations. The military launched an all-out assault on the Rohingya apparently after Rohingya militants attacked police posts, killing 12 members of the security forces. Since the 25th of August, the Myanmar military has killed many innocent people and has driven hundreds of thousands of people out, burning their homes and their entire villages in the process, practicing what is known as scorched earth policy, intended to wipe out anything and everything in their way, including innocent civilians. This is textbook ethnic cleansing in practice. Myanmar's military say they are responding to insurgents and that the Rohingya militants are burning their own homes. Arakana Rohingya Salvation Army is one such group of insurgents the military say is responsible for the crisis. They describe this as a terrorist group whose leader include Atta Allah, who has been trained abroad, born in Pakistan and raised in Saudi Arabia. The Rohingya, on the other hand, argue that the troops and Rakhine nationalists' brutal campaign is part of their nationalistic ideology of ethnic cleansing. Shamefully, the Nobel Peace Prize winner and leader, Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi, failed to take the necessary action. Instead, she says the crisis was being distorted by, and I quote, huge iceberg of misinformation, end quote. Amnesty accused her government of, I quote, burying their heads in the sand, end quote. Mr. President, we must act now before thousands more of innocent lives perish. We must take decisive action and take practical steps by cutting all military ties with the Myanmar until the military stop all acts of violence against the Rohingya. Concerns about the consequences of military support for Myanmar prompted the Conservative-led UK government to suspend any financial aid, including £300,000 a year, which was being used to fund educational courses for the country's military. Even the Trump administration in the US has publicly condemned the Myanmar military and called for all governments to suspend providing weapons to Myanmar, saying, and I quote, "We cannot be afraid to call the actions of the Burmese authorities that they appear to be a brutal, sustained campaign to cleanse the country of an ethnic minority," end quote. Shamefully, the Australian government has failed to take the effective steps to, and our Defence Force continues its $300,000 military cooperation program with Myanmar, despite allegations the army there has led a campaign of textbook ethnic cleansing against Rohingya Muslims. Human Rights Watch noted that Australia's military cooperation showed, and I quote, the total abandonment of human rights as a core part of the Australian foreign policy, end quote. Despite this, Australian defence officials continue to run the deplorable line that military support is necessary for, quote, engagement and ensuring, quote, professionalism in Myanmar military. Another matter of concern that may come out of this conflict is the narrative that depicts this tension as a religious conflict between Buddhists and Muslims. It simply is not the case. The conflict is between ultra-nationalist Burmese who want the Rohingya out of Myanmar. Framing the conflict as a conflict between Muslims and Buddhists is dangerous. It is one that could have significant impact on a region whose people follow the Buddhist and Islamic faiths. It could trigger religious tensions across Asia with major Muslim nations such as Indonesia, Pakistan and Malaysia already expressing discontent about the way Muslims are being treated in this way, may have as an effect in Buddhist nations such as China, Vietnam, including India, with millions of Muslims, Buddhists, Sikhs and Hindus. If this conflict deteriorates and spirals out of control, the ramifications could be insurmountable and could cost hundreds of thousands of lives, and tensions continue across the region for many decades to come. So I call on our federal Labor, National responsible Liberal and Green colleagues to unite to take practical steps to stop the Rohingya military from committing continued massacre of innocent people, and must do so now.
Hear, hear.